Or the churches like First Baptist of Merrifield?
Well, when Falls Church got a NAACP branch, it was called the Falls Church and Vicinity NAACP. And many of the other communities in Fairfax County were, they wondered why it was just the Falls Church and Vicinity, because they really didn't know how to name a branch that would encompass all of what Fairfax County was, because Fairfax County is very large, and you had a lot of different pockets of very vibrant community like Merrifield and Vienna, Gum Springs, and Alexandria. You know, all over the county there were pockets of community, but the Falls Church and Vicinity NAACP brought them all together and communicated with them in order to fight for everybody in Fairfax County. And shortly after that, I think 1920, Arlington County had an NAACP, Prince William got an NAACP, relatively early in the process of small rural branches.
So what do you think has been the legacy of your great-grandfather and working with NAACP?
He was a pioneer as far as bringing civil rights to a lot of the rural communities. And I think that you have to look at the rural communities as the most likely place where people needed a voice like the NAACP.
Mm-hmm.
And he would also bring people in here into the community. There's evidence, we have a flyer from 1920 when James Weldon Johnson came to the community. He was the field agent for the NAACP. And we also have a picture of Charles Hamilton Houston at the Second Baptist Church for an event. So you had a lot of people that came to Falls Church because there was a vibrant NAACP here. And my grandmother won an award for bringing in the most memberships in the entire organization of the NAACP. And she went out and she canvassed the community and brought people into the NAACP. And they respected her because she was the principal of the community school. So she had the respect of the community.
So let's talk a little bit about your grandmother being an educator. What did she do here in the city of Falls Church as far as her work with education?
Okay. She was, my grandmother, Mary Ellen Henderson. Well, my grandmother and grandfather moved to Falls Church in 1910. And the way that the rules were at the time,
There's a page that
that
has the African American voters on it, so I was trying to locate that.
can we do that? Do we have to do that right now?
I'm just rolling everything. You guys are talking. If it's distracting you, then
Yeah,
I'll move
we
out
need
the
to-
way.
It's
Yeah.
somewhat distracting, I think.
Yeah.
Let me
But-
find it, just let me know.
When Evie Henderson and Mary Ellen Henderson married in 1910, after the championship game for the Washington 12th Street is up in New York City, they moved here and they lived with his mother and father and his grandmother at the next to the Falls Church, where my great-grandmother's store was as well. But the rule was in Washington, D.C. at the time that a woman after being married could no longer serve as a teacher. And so my grandmother, upon moving out here, and I think in an oral history that we have, admitted that she had no intentions of actually ever working again. But after my father was born, in 1917. Around 1919, or shortly before that, she was approached by the community and asked if she would reopen the Falls Church Colored School, which was actually built in 1887 by the Friends of Freedmen, or the Freedmen's Bureau.
Do you think that was one of the first schools around here for African Americans?
I think it was an outgrowth of that first effort by the Reeds, Betsy Reed, John Reed, Hiram Reed, and the African American community that lasted throughout the Civil War.
Okay.
And then the Lee brothers donated land for the first colored school to be built upon, and the rest is history. But I believe that that is a continuous story that began during or before the Civil War.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The Falls Church Colored School, they say, was closed during the war, World War I.